What if I told you that a single ingredient costing less than $1 a day could do 3 things that most people over 60 are told are simply impossible? What if that one ingredient could reactivate your body's own repair cells that have been quietly shutting down for years? What if it could cut off the fuel supply that dangerous cells in your body depend on to survive and grow? And what if, at the same time, it could start burning the most deadly type of fat stored deep inside your belly, the kind that wraps around your organs and silently drives disease? I know that sounds too good to be true. I completely understand why you might be skeptical right now. My name is Dr. Claire Thompson. I have spent over 2 decades as a health researcher specializing in metabolic medicine, aging biology, and cancer prevention. My entire career has been dedicated to one mission: helping men and women over 60 live longer, stronger, and healthier lives. I have worked with thousands of seniors across clinical settings, published research, and spent years deep inside the science of how the human body ages. I am not here to sell you a fantasy. I am here to show you what the peer-reviewed journals are quietly confirming right now, and what mainstream medicine is only just beginning to catch up with. This is not a magic pill. It is not a supplement created in a lab with a list of ingredients you cannot pronounce. What I am going to share with you today is a simple fat, a naturally occurring fat, that has been studied extensively and is now showing results that are genuinely changing how we think about aging after 60. By the time you finish watching this, you will understand exactly what is happening inside your body as you age, why it is happening, and most importantly, what you can do about it starting tomorrow morning. Stay with me, because what comes next could change everything. Before I get into the solution, I need you to understand what is actually happening inside your body right now. Because once you see the biology clearly, the solution will make perfect sense. After the age of 60, your body is facing what I call a triple biological threat. These 3 things are happening simultaneously. They are connected to each other, and together they form a cycle that accelerates aging faster than most people realize. The first part of this threat lives inside your cells, in tiny structures called mitochondria. Think of mitochondria as the power plants inside every single cell in your body. When you were in your 20s, each muscle cell in your body contained roughly 2,000 of these tiny power generators. They were producing energy at full capacity, keeping you strong, keeping you sharp, keeping you recovering quickly after physical effort. But by the time most people reach 65, that number has dropped dramatically. Research shows a 40 to 50% decline in mitochondrial density in aging adults. That means your cells are running on half the power they once had. This is not a feeling you imagined. It is a measurable, documented biological reality. When your mitochondria decline, the consequences reach every corner of your life. You wake up tired even after a full night of sleep. You feel like you are recovering from every small exertion for days instead of hours. Your energy output through the day drops earlier and drops lower than it used to. You feel a kind of chronic fatigue that does not seem to have a clear cause. That cause is right there inside your cells, and it does not stop there. Declining mitochondria also produce something deeply damaging, a rising tide of oxidative stress inside your body. The second part of the triple threat involves something most people have never heard of: circulating stem cells. These are your body's repair crew. When tissue is damaged anywhere in your body, stem cells are the workers that rush to that location and begin the rebuilding process. They regenerate muscle. They repair blood vessel walls. They maintain the structural integrity of your organs. When you were young, your body had a rich, active population of these repair cells circulating at all times. But by the time you reach 65, research shows that the circulating stem cell population has declined by 60 to 70%. That is not a minor reduction. That is a catastrophic loss of your body's ability to heal itself. When stem cells decline, healing slows down. Injuries that would have resolved in days now linger for weeks. The quality of tissue regeneration drops. DNA mutations that would have been caught and repaired begin to accumulate in cells throughout your body. And this accumulation of damage, over months and years, is directly connected to a rising risk of serious disease, including cancer. Your repair crew is not just smaller, it is depleted to the point where damage begins to outlast repair. And the third part of this threat makes everything worse. The third biological change after 60 is a deep shift in how your metabolism functions. Your insulin sensitivity drops significantly. The enzymes your body uses to burn fat become less active. Your metabolism shifts away from burning fat and leans much harder on glucose, blood sugar, as its primary fuel source. This matters enormously for your health. It matters for your weight. It matters for your energy. And it matters for something that most people do not connect to metabolism at all: cancer. Because there is a critical fact about cancer cells that changes everything, and I will explain that in detail shortly. These three threats do not just exist side by side. They feed into each other in a destructive loop that scientists have documented clearly. Mitochondrial decline creates oxidative stress. That oxidative stress causes DNA damage in your stem cells. The damaged stem cells lose their regenerative power. Impaired tissue regeneration leads to more dysfunctional mitochondria, and those dysfunctional mitochondria produce even more oxidative stress. This loop does not stop on its own. It accelerates, and for most people, it begins picking up speed somewhere around age 50. The question I spent years trying to answer was this: is there a single intervention that can interrupt all three arms of this cycle at once? The answer is yes, and it is sitting in a bottle that costs less than $1 a day. It is called C8 MCT oil. I am going to explain exactly what it is, exactly how it works inside your body, and exactly how to use it, because the timing and preparation method matter just as much as the ingredient itself. Let me start with the basics so you have a clear picture of the science behind this. MCT stands for medium-chain triglyceride. It is a type of fat, but it is a very different kind of fat from what most people think of when they hear the word fat. Most fats you eat, olive oil, butter, the fat in meat, are what scientists call long-chain triglycerides. They have long carbon chains, and your body processes them slowly. They travel through your lymphatic system, get packaged and stored, and only gradually become available as fuel. MCT oil is different at the molecular level. Its carbon chains are shorter, and that difference changes everything about how your body handles it. When you consume MCT oil, it does not follow the same slow path. It absorbs directly through the portal vein and travels straight to your liver. Your liver then converts it rapidly into molecules called ketones. The primary ketone your liver produces from MCT oil is called beta-hydroxybutyrate, or BHB. And BHB is not just a fuel. It is a signaling molecule. It sends instructions throughout your body that trigger a cascade of biological responses. The most remarkable thing about this process is that it happens without requiring you to follow a strict ketogenic diet. Just 1 tablespoon of MCT oil in your morning coffee is enough to trigger a measurable ketone response in your bloodstream. Now let me take you through the 5 specific biological mechanisms that make this so powerful for people over 60. Each one is backed by published clinical research. Each one directly addresses one of the threats I described. And together, they explain why this simple morning habit is producing results that are genuinely surprising researchers. The first mechanism is accelerated fat burning, specifically the dangerous visceral fat stored deep in your abdomen. A clinical study involving 49 adults followed participants for 16 weeks. One group consumed 18 to 24 grams of MCT oil daily. The other group consumed olive oil as their fat source. At the end of 16 weeks, the MCT group lost 1.67 kilograms more body weight than the olive oil group. But more importantly, they showed a 2.9% greater reduction in visceral fat. the deep abdominal fat that wraps around your organs and drives inflammation, heart disease, and metabolic disorder. They also showed a 29% higher fat oxidation rate. Their bodies were literally burning fat at a significantly faster pace. The reason this happens goes back to BHB. When your liver converts MCT oil into BHB, that ketone activates a specific receptor in your cells called PPAR alpha. PPAR alpha is essentially a master switch for fat burning. It turns on the genes responsible for fat oxidation and shifts your cellular metabolism away from glucose dependence and toward fat burning. This is the metabolic shift that your body lost after 60. MCT oil helps restore it without requiring extreme dietary changes. The second mechanism addresses something even more fundamental: the health of your mitochondria and your stem cells. Remember those power plants inside your cells that have been declining since your 20s? MCT oil directly stimulates a protein called PGC1 alpha. This protein is known in research circles as the master regulator of mitochondrial biogenesis, which simply means the creation of new mitochondria. In a 4-week study, subjects who supplemented with MCT showed a 37% increase in PGC1 alpha expression, a 28% increase in mitochondrial density, and a 25% improvement in exercise capacity. Your cells were rebuilding their power plants. Your energy production was genuinely increasing at the cellular level. And the connection to stem cells is equally compelling. BHB, the ketone produced from MCT oil, has been shown in research to regulate stem cell quiescence, which is the resting state that preserves stem cell integrity. It does this by inhibiting an enzyme called HDAC3. When HDAC3 is inhibited, stem cells are better protected from premature exhaustion. They maintain their regenerative capacity longer. The tissue repair system that has been declining since your 60s begins to show signs of stabilization. This is not a theoretical connection. It is a documented molecular pathway now appearing in peer-reviewed journals. The third mechanism is the one that tends to stop people cold when they first hear it. It involves cancer. I want to be very clear before I explain this. MCT oil is not a cancer cure. It is not a treatment. If you or someone you love is dealing with cancer, please follow your oncologist's guidance. What I am describing here is a metabolic environment strategy, and the science behind it goes back nearly a century. In 1931, a scientist named Otto Warburg won the Nobel Prize in Medicine for a discovery that changed our understanding of cancer. He observed that cancer cells have a unique metabolic characteristic. Unlike healthy cells, which can burn either fat or glucose for fuel, cancer cells are almost exclusively dependent on glucose, blood sugar. Even when oxygen is available, cancer cells prefer to ferment glucose rather than burn it efficiently. This became known as the Warburg Effect, and it has been confirmed and expanded by decades of subsequent research. Now here is why this matters. When you shift your metabolism toward fat burning and ketone production, which is exactly what MCT oil does, you are reducing the glucose environment that cancer cells prefer and replacing it with ketones. Healthy cells can adapt and thrive on ketones. Cancer cells cannot make that switch effectively. Studies using ketogenic diets combined with ketone supplementation in animal models have shown reduced tumor growth rates and extended survival. Researchers have observed significant improvements in insulin levels, inflammatory markers, and mitochondrial function in subjects following metabolic approaches that mirror what MCT oil helps create. Again, this is not a cure, but it is a meaningful metabolic strategy that science is taking seriously. The fourth mechanism addresses one of the most serious and underappreciated consequences of aging: the loss of muscle mass. This condition is called sarcopenia, and it is far more common than most people realize. Roughly 30% of adults over 60 are affected. By age 80, that number climbs to 70%. And sarcopenia is not just about looking thin. Lost muscle means reduced strength, impaired balance, slower metabolism, and a dramatically higher risk of falls and fractures. It also means that standard fat loss strategies become dangerous because when you lose fat, you also tend to lose muscle. And that muscle loss in an older adult can be very difficult to recover from. A 2019 study followed 40 adults between the ages of 55 and 75. Participants consumed 14 grams of MCT oil daily for 12 weeks. The results were striking. The MCT group lost 3.2 kilograms of fat and actually gained 0.8 kilograms of lean muscle mass. The control group, by comparison, lost 2.1 kilograms of fat, but also lost 0.5 kilograms of muscle. That is not a small difference. The MCT group was simultaneously burning more fat and preserving, even building, muscle tissue. The mechanisms behind this involve BHB's anti-catabolic properties, its ability to activate a pathway called mTOR that stimulates muscle protein synthesis, and importantly, it does this without triggering the insulin spike that typically accompanies muscle-building foods. This is a unique and powerful combination for people over 60. The fifth mechanism brings us to something most people would never think to combine: MCT oil and coffee. Not just because they taste good together, but because of what they do together inside your body. Research has shown that caffeine alone increases fat oxidation by approximately 29%. Caffeine triggers the release of a hormone that activates an enzyme called hormone-sensitive lipase, which breaks stored fat out of fat cells and releases it into the bloodstream as free fatty acids, essentially putting stored fat into circulation to be used as fuel. Here's the problem, though. If you simply release fat into the bloodstream without creating a strong enough fuel demand, that fat tends to get recirculated and restored. It goes back into fat tissue without ever being burned. This is where MCT oil changes the equation completely. MCT oil creates an immediate, powerful demand for fuel by flooding your liver with substrate for ketone production. Your body's fat-burning machinery is running at full capacity, and the free fatty acids that caffeine just mobilized have nowhere to go except into the furnace. The combined effect of caffeine and MCT oil together produces approximately a 51% increase in fat oxidation, more than double the effect of either one alone. But the timing of this combination is critical, and that brings me to the protocol. To get these 5 mechanisms working in your favor every morning, you need to do this correctly. First, the type of MCT oil you choose matters. Not all MCT oil is the same. There are different carbon chain lengths: C6, C8, C10, and C12. C6 is known to cause significant digestive distress and should be avoided. C12 behaves more like a long-chain fat in the body and does not convert to ketones efficiently. The ideal choice is either a pure C8 MCT oil or a blend of C8 and C10. C8 converts to BHB faster than any other form, and it produces the strongest ketone response per gram consumed. When you are shopping for MCT oil, read the label carefully. If it does not specify C8 or a C8-C10 ratio, it is likely a lower quality product. The second thing that matters is how you dose it, especially in the beginning. Your digestive system needs time to adapt to MCT oil. Moving too fast will cause stomach discomfort, cramping, or loose stools, and that will make you want to stop before you ever see the benefits. Start with just 1 teaspoon, that is approximately 5 grams, in your morning coffee during your first week. In your second week, move up to 1 tablespoon, which is approximately 14 grams. From there, you can increase gradually over time, but most people find a daily dose of 14 to 25 grams to be ideal. There is no benefit to going above 30 grams per day, and doing so only increases the risk of digestive discomfort. The third thing, and this is the detail that most people completely miss, is how you prepare it. You cannot simply pour MCT oil into your coffee and stir it with a spoon. Oil and water do not mix. If you do it that way, you will swallow a layer of pure oil sitting on top of your coffee, and the effect on your digestive system will not be pleasant. The correct method is to blend your coffee and MCT oil together for 15 to 20 seconds in a blender. This creates a full emulsion, a creamy, frothy mixture, where the fat is fully incorporated into the liquid. If you want to enhance the effect further, you can add 1 teaspoon of grass-fed butter or ghee to the blend. This adds healthy, saturated fat that further supports ketone production and creates a richer, more satisfying morning drink. The fourth detail is timing. This protocol only works the way I have described if you do it in a specific window. Consume your MCT coffee within 1 hour of waking up on a completely empty stomach. Then delay eating your first meal by 2 to 4 hours. This is the metabolic window. The period when your insulin is at its lowest, your body is most primed for fat oxidation, and the ketone response from the MCT oil is at its strongest. Eating carbohydrates immediately after your MCT coffee will spike your insulin, shut down fat burning, and eliminate the metabolic advantage you just created. Protect that window. It is where the magic happens. To get the best possible results from this protocol, there are a few additional habits worth building alongside it. A modest caloric deficit of 300 to 500 calories per day will accelerate fat loss significantly when combined with MCT oil's fat-burning effect. 2 to 3 sessions of resistance training per week, even light resistance training with bands or body weight, will preserve and build the muscle that the MCT oil is already protecting at the cellular level. After those workouts, consuming 20 to 30 grams of protein within the hour will amplify the muscle protein synthesis that BHB is triggering. And always count the calories in your MCT oil. 1 tablespoon contains approximately 130 calories. It is a fat, and it does count toward your daily intake. Now let me tell you what to expect and when to expect it, so you know you are on track. In your first 2 weeks, the changes are mostly internal and subtle. You will likely notice increased mental clarity and sharper focus. This is the BHB acting as a clean fuel source for your brain. You will notice reduced hunger and fewer cravings, especially in the morning. You may see a small drop in weight, but this is mostly water weight at this stage. Do not be discouraged. The deeper changes are already beginning. Between weeks 3 and 8, the visible changes begin to arrive. Your abdominal circumference will start to shrink. The fat loss becomes measurable on the scale and visible in the mirror. Your physical strength will remain stable or actually improve, even as you are losing weight, because your muscle is being preserved by the BHB effect. This is the stage where most people become genuinely excited and committed, because they can see and feel the difference. By months 2 and 3, the metabolic markers begin to shift in ways your doctor can measure on a blood test. Triglycerides drop. HDL, the good cholesterol, rises. Fasting insulin levels decrease. Inflammatory markers improve. Your energy through the day becomes more consistent and more sustained. The chronic afternoon fatigue that many people over 60 accept as normal begins to lift. You begin to feel at a fundamental level like your body is working better than it has in years. Before I close, I want to address safety honestly, because I believe you deserve straightforward information. For most adults over 60 who are in generally good health, C8 MCT oil is well tolerated and considered safe at the doses I have described. However, if you have liver disease, please speak with your physician before starting this protocol, because MCT oil is processed primarily by the liver. If you have type 1 diabetes, or if you are managing type 2 diabetes with insulin, please consult your doctor first, as the ketone response from MCT oil can interact with insulin management. If you are taking a blood-thinning medication called warfarin, please check with your healthcare provider before beginning. For everyone else, start slowly, build gradually, and give your body the time it needs to adapt. I want to leave you with this thought. For too long, the narrative around aging has been one of inevitable decline. We have been told to expect less energy, more fat, slower recovery, more illness, and less vitality as the years go by. But the biology does not fully support that narrative. Yes, there are real changes happening inside your body after 60. Yes, the triple threat of mitochondrial decline, stem cell depletion, and metabolic dysfunction is real and measurable. But those processes are not completely beyond our influence. They are responsive to the right interventions. And the evidence is now showing clearly that a single daily habit, 1 tablespoon of C8 MCT oil blended into your morning coffee, taken on an empty stomach, consistently over 8 weeks, can interrupt all 3 of those biological threats simultaneously. The 3 drivers of accelerated aging are connected, and the ingredient that addresses all 3 of them is simple, affordable, and available right now. You do not need a prescription. You do not need a complete lifestyle overhaul. You need a commitment to one small habit, practiced every morning with intention and consistency. Start with 1 teaspoon tomorrow morning. Blend it properly. Protect the metabolic window. Give it 8 weeks. The science says something remarkable may be waiting for you on the other side. And based on what I have seen in over 20 years of research and clinical work with people just like you, I believe it.